I went to go visit the fam when I was down in Augusta, Georgia. And when I got to the house, they wanted to know if I could put some in the oven. And I was like, well, I think I could do a broccoli cheese casserole. And they was like, well, that sounds good. So I headed into the kitchen and I put some rice in a pot. And when I went to go grab for that ground beef, they was looking at me crazy. Like, we don't know nothing about that. And I'm like, for real? Your broccoli cheese casserole ain't beefy and creamy? Creamy and beefy? Well, let me show you how I do it. So I put the ground beef in a little pan and I season it down with a little salt, a little season oil, a little onion powder, a little paprika, and I browned it up till it was good and tender. And I went on ahead and got me another pot and I put some water in it with a little broccoli so I can let that steam. And I went on ahead and started on my cheese sauce. So I got me a little butter, a little flour for a little roux, and I got a little cheddar cheese block, and I cut that down into some cubes, and I went on ahead and put that into my little butter and flour roux, and I came back with a little sour cream, a little heavy whipping cream, and I put some paprika in, and I stirred it up. As I was making my cheese sauce, they was looking at me crazy, like, we don't know nothing about that. And I'm like, for real? Your broccoli cheese casserole ain't cheesy and creamy and cheesy? Well, let me show you how I do it. So I went on ahead and grabbed me a mixing bowl, and I went on ahead and put that ground beef in it, and I came back with that steamed broccoli, and I grabbed my little rice, and I went on ahead and tossed that in it. And as I was stirring it up, I went on ahead and grabbed that cheese sauce, and I poured it over there as it was oozing all over the place. I stirred it up, and as I was making it and putting it together, they was looking at me crazy, like, we don't know nothing about that. And I'm like, for real? Your broccoli cheese casserole ain't cheesy and beefy and creamy? Well, let me show you how I do it. So I went on here and got me a little casserole dish, and I scooped that mixture on out, and I spread it across that casserole dish, and I went and got me some shredded cheddar cheese, and I spread that across the top, and I went on ahead and made 2 casserole dishes since I had enough, and I went on ahead and put that in the oven, and I let it set probably for maybe about 20 minutes at about 350 degrees until the cheese was all ooey gooey and bubbly. And as I was pulling it out the oven, they was looking at me crazy like, we don't know nothing about that. And I'm like, for real? Your broccoli cheese casserole ain't beefy and creamy and beefy? Well, let me show you how I do it. Now, I went on ahead and cut me a little slice of that broccoli cheese casserole, and I went and got me a little fork, and went and got me a little plate, and I scooped it out that dish, and I put it on that plate and started eating it. And as I'm enjoying it, they looking at me crazy like, we don't know nothing about that. And I'm like, for real? Your broccoli cheese casserole ain't creamy and beefy and creamy?